Welcome back to Aetheral Space.
That's right.
3.29.
Yeah, holy shit, this arc never ends.
Yeah, we're like halfway through, I think, now.
Halfway? There's gonna be 60 chapters in this arc?
Well, we can say maybe 2/3. Well, no, more like halfway. You gotta let the story breathe.
Lord, Tan.
You're
You
not
should just
enjoying it?
split it into... I am, but it's just... I love how the first two arcs were like nothing compared to this. Just big fucking arc.
It's like...
This is like when people are like,
season one,
this arc is what's going to happen.
Then season 2 is one
Someone's
arc.
going to be binging Aetheral Space at night, and they're going to like finish the first two arcs in like an hour or two, and then they're going to be like, alright, just one more arc before bed. And then it's going to be fucking this.
Infinity War.
Alright, so recap. Very good chapter last time, but it was mostly fighting, so not a lot of new shit happened. Just everyone kind of fighting. Dragon showed up right as Bruno finished off Rayange. Ruth just finished beating Simeon, and Skipper went into the room and was like approaching Noelle, but then Marie came down, and now they're fighting. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Alright, so... You took your sweet time, panted Bruno, slumping against the wall and sliding into a seated position as Dragon approached. Dragon rolled his eyes. Do you know how many stairs I had to climb to get here? A lot. A whole lot. You should be thanking me for putting the effort in. It was true. After climbing so many stairs, Dragon had to take a few minutes to catch his breath. He decided... Why not just say had?
No, because it's in the past. You didn't have to do it now.
Or what about had needed?
Okay.
There you go. Had. He decided not to mention that, though. Bruno didn't look to be in the indulgent mood. As he approached, he glanced down at Bruno's unconscious opponent, the one Noelle had called Rayange, if he remembered correctly. Well, he always remembered correctly, but whatever. Should we kill him? Dragon said, biting his lip as he looked down at the unconscious body. Bruno looked up from his sitting position, brow furrowed. Weren't we meant to be taking these guys into custody? We can just tie them up and carry them out if your little stick arms can take the strain. Can they? Because if they wake up and they're not bound in Neverwire, won't they just fucking aether their way out?
We'll see.
I feel like unless you have Neverwire on hand, it's a lot harder to take prisoners in the Aether world. Dragon frowned. My arms aren't... Never mind. Anyway, there's been a few changes in the situation. You've missed a lot this last week. As he spoke, he kept one stun pistol trained on Rayange's back, ready to zap him if he showed any sign of consciousness. Groaning, Bruno pushed himself back up the wall, still holding a hand against it for support. What do you mean? He growled. There's been a change in the situation. Before he replied, Dragon put his free hand to his head and ran it over his temple. Putting the whole thing into words made him truly realize just how complicated things had gotten, just how out of his depth he was. Well, he'd never really been in his depth, but now it had just become obvious. We're supposed to kill the citizen, he finally forced out as his opener. Bruno blinked. What? The citizen. We're meant to kill him. That wasn't the deal. Bruno took a step forward. I remember. I was there when that deer asshole got us into this mess. We were grabbing the Umbrant, and that was it. Dragon shrugged weakly, an awkward, lopsided smile on his lips. Apparently, Deer's boss had dirt on Skipper, so the situation's changed. What kind of dirt? I love how the Umbrant didn't even become important because the citizen is just here now. Bruno waved his arms as he spoke, clearly getting frustrated. I don't know, Dragon lied. He thought about telling Bruno about everything the sponsor ward told them, about the previous president, about Skipper's past with this Vanta Black squad, but in the end he decided that they just didn't have the time for an explanation like that. If all was going well, Ruth was above them and Skipper was below them. A decision has to be made. Well, Bruno spluttered, thumping his fist against the wall. Shit! What the hell are we supposed to do now? We kill the citizen, I guess. Bruno shook his head. No, even if we do that, they'll find something else to get us with. It's how these kinds of things work, every time. Trust me, I've been on the giving end, too. I agree, Dragon nodded, but we still don't have a choice. We can either make a run for it and ensure in retaliation, or get this thing down and come up with a plan for afterwards. Anyway, that's not even important right now. Well, what is important, then? First, this guy. Dragon nodded down at Rayange. He's not the citizen, so we can let him live, but we can't risk him waking up and coming after us. I passed a supply closet on my way here. We can get him restrained with some of the stuff from there. Rope won't do much against Aether, Bruno said doubtfully. Dragon waved a dismissive hand. There are ways you can tie people up so they just can't move their body at all. On Crestpool, they used to do that and drop... Well, never mind. I'm pretty sure it would work. His mind had started drifting there. It was this whole situation, stress, pushing out memories he didn't much care to revisit. Okay. Bruno slowly nodded. Okay, sure. You said that's the first thing, though, so what's next? As Dragon put his back against the wall and crossed his arms, he wondered how much detail he should go into. They didn't have time for the full story, so it would be best to get the pertinent facts across first. Basically what's happened, he said, eyes still squeezed shut as he dug through his memories, is that the owner of this place has information the citizen wants, so that's why he sent his guys here. We've come here to take them out before they can get to the owner. Skipper's gone down to the security room to make sure they can't hack the security systems here, and Ruth's gone up to the director's office to grab them before the citizen can. I came here to make sure you were safe. Bruno raised an eyebrow. Like I said, you took your sweet time. It was a lot of stairs, Dragon snapped. Anyway, now that that's settled, I think the best thing for us to do is split up again. Fucking rip. One of us goes to back up Skipper, the other backs up Ruth. What do you think? Bruno bit his lip. I don't like the idea of us moving through this place alone, but you're the boss. He was? Really? When did that happen? Dragon was surprised Bruno would say that, but he wasn't going to say otherwise. He'd honestly expected more pushback. He nodded, smiling slightly. Okay. Well then, I'll go down to back up that idiot, and you'll go up to back up that idiot. Sound good? Bruno cracked his knuckles, purple aether playing across his fingers as he moved them. Not really. Oh god, I fucked that up. Hang on.
Not really.
Yeah, not really, but nothing much has sounded good since we touched down on this planet. Despite everything, Dragon found himself chuckling. Bruno had a way of voicing the thoughts that Dragon left to stew. You're not wrong, he said, picking up Ranch by the legs and getting ready to drag, but we've still got to get on with it. The special officer, huh? Said Skipper, standing back up from his crouching position. Wowee, you wouldn't happen to know a toy Musashi, would ya? The special officer didn't mirror him. She stayed half-crouched, fingers bared as if they were claws. A mirthless smile crossed her lips. Sure do. And you know Dragon Hadrian, right? She elongated the word within an inch of its life. Ditto, Skipper grinned uneasily. Don't suppose I can convince you to stand down and let me be on my merry way? Marie glanced back towards Noelle, who was still pouring her aether into the central console. Sorry, she began, but Heartbeat shotgun, said Skipper. Oh, wait. This is his emotionless mode. Heartbeat shotgun, said Skipper emotionlessly, pointing a finger gun at Marie as she turned her back around. It struck her a second later. The sound of the gunshot was even more deafening than usual in this cavern of a room, and as Marie went flying backwards, the clangs of her rolling to a stop on the metal walkway echoed just as much. See that? Clangs! Robot! Confirmed! Noel glanced back towards the fight behind her, but he quickly turned once again to the console in front of her. Marie stood back up, casually dusting herself off as if she hadn't just been struck with the force of a gunshot. See, this is what confuses me about... Like, I get why in a story to keep it dramatic, but, like, while she was rolling, why didn't he just run up and blast to Noelle? Why is he, like, waiting until she's done? You know what I mean?
Well, she doesn't know what she can do. Maybe what if she, like, can blow up?
Oh, that's true. That wasn't very nice, she said, wiping a line of blood from her nose. I was talking, you know. Skipper shrugged even as he kept his finger pointed towards Marie. There's your first mistake, kid. You can't get distracted when folks are tussling, yeah? And it's pretty cocky for you not to use aether. He was sure of it. Whoever this woman was, she wasn't using aether at all. If she had been, even cloaked, that first attack wouldn't have done enough damage to draw blood. There was something bizarre going on here. Marie laughed heartily, strolling back towards Skipper with one hand in her jacket pocket. I'm not sure I know what you're talking about, old-timer. Maybe you're going senile? Her hand inched out of the jacket, just slightly, enough to show she wanted to hide it. Skipper was a nice guy, but he wasn't going to let something like that slide. Heartbeat bayonet, heartbeat bayonet, heartbeat bayonet, heartbeat bayonet. The first attack sliced through her throat, opening her jugular in a crimson shower. The second attack ran up her chest and face, forming a grim cross. The third attack cut through her heel, sending her down onto the floor. The fourth attack carved into her back, reaching so deep that white bone was... This kind of reminds me of that scene in Full Metal Alchemist where the flame guy just keeps popping fucking envy. It's like boom, boom. Oh, that's vicious. Oh, Skipper's so cool when he's serious. Sorry, said Skipper grimly, looking down at Marie's eviscerated form, but I didn't like the way you were looking at me. Noelle had turned away from the console, face white as a ghost, as she had heard Marie be cut apart, but her hands were still pressed against the console. The cyan aether was now visibly running through the entire pillar, making its way up and down like massive static electricity. Skipper moved his finger slightly, pointing it at Noelle rather than Marie. All right, little miss, he said, jabbing it in her direction. How about you step away from those controls, yeah? Noelle glanced from the controls to Skipper's...
Oh, to Skipper.
Opened her mouth as if to say something, but no noise came out. He couldn't blame her. That had been a hell of a thing for a kid to witness. Still, he couldn't afford to hesitate here. Last chance, kid, he said, finger pointing directly at her head. If nothing else, he'd make it quick. Step Away. There was a sound like snapping branches. "You think we're done here?" rasped Marie from the floor. Skipper glanced down, and when he saw what was happening, he took a hurried step back. With the way he's brutalized this Marie woman, her lifespan should have been measured in seconds, but she was getting up, rising from the blood-drowned floor to her full height like some kind of broken marionette. Oh my god, is she the Witch of Vainglory? The cracking he'd heard was the sound of her joints and bones snapping into place as the wounds he'd inflicted on her slowly but steadily into place?
Sorry.
I'm not sure what you were going for there. Slid back into place.
Yep.
Closed. Back up. Even as Skipper watched, the shower of blood spitting from her torn jugular was reduced to a trickle, and then nothing at all. By the time she was fully standing, it was as if he'd never touched her at all. "Nice trick," mumbled Skipper, looking her up and down, looking for the secret behind what he'd just seen. Some kind of ability, maybe? Hell, maybe this Marie person wasn't even here and she was just messing with his mind. Marie grunted as she cracked her neck. "Isn't it?" she said, the raspiness of her voice clearing away as the words left her mouth. "Don't much like showing it off, but I guess we don't always get what we want, huh?" "Guess not." She'd recovered from his attacks, but they'd still hurt her. If he could damage her enough to keep her down for a while, he could take out Noelle, while she was still healing, regenerating. What the hell was the terminology here? Marie took a step forward out of the puddle of blood she'd produced over the last minute or so. "Don't think you'll get another free shot like that, old-timer." Skipper grinned. "Oh, I'd never dream of it." Marie lunged forward, I assume, at blinding speeds, lifting up her arm like a hammer, and as Skipper dived out of the way, she brought it down on the railing behind where he'd just been standing. There was a sickening crunch as her arm was broken from the impact, paired with the screech of metal as the railing snapped in much the same way. Regaining his balance on the narrow railing, Skipper jabbed a finger towards Marie's face. "Heartbeat bayonet!" The range was much closer this time. Hell, they were practically in melee distance, so his bayonet could be much more precise. A thin red line drew itself over Marie's eyes, so small it could have been made with a scalpel. And a second later, I assume, her face exploded into blood. A lot of typos this chapter, Dan.
Sorry, I was too excited.
Even if she could regenerate. Aww. Even if she could regenerate, being blinded definitely hurt. Marie screamed in pain and rage as she swung around again, broken arm flopping as she let loose a devastating roundhouse kick. Skipper ducked under the kick. It was strong and fast, but the lack of precision made it easy to avoid. He dodged a series of follow-up kicks, each one missing by a matter of inches as he worked his way around her back. Her eyes were already healing, the line smoothly sliding shut. He didn't have much time. He didn't like using this, but she wasn't giving him much choice. Skipper planted his hand on her back, fingers splayed out to cover the whitest surface area. He could feel her heartbeat through it. Oh, he's going to use her heartbeat. Oh, no! He could feel her heartbeat through his palm. Even in this situation, it was calm, steady, a drumbeat of inevitability. Heartbeat silencer. There were abilities that implied ill intent through their very existence. The ability to inflict pain with no other purpose, the ability to splinter minds with a baleful glance, the ability to turn skin to glass and yet retain all feeling. There was no good use for such abilities, no world in which they were to put to work for the benefit of others. It wasn't much better than those, this power that Skipper had. The ability to stop a person's heart. It was frighteningly easy to sample a person's heartbeat and counteract it with its exact opposite, to cancel it out. The negating sound wouldn't penetrate through any kind of aether defense. It was far too weak, but Skipper knew now that this girl wasn't using aether at all. Whoever she wasn't normal. Fortunately for her, neither was he. The death rattle escaped Marie's throat as her heartbeat came to a sudden and forceful halt, and she toppled forward onto the ground. Without missing a beat, Skipper whirled around, firing a heartbeat shotgun off at Noelle with his prosthetic, but it missed by inches, smashing a spare monitor rather than the girl's skull. Noelle screamed as the glass from the thing. Glass barely missed her. Skipper looked down at his mechanical arm. Marie was grabbing it as she rose from the floor again, the slightest irritation now visible on her face. Her eyes were fully healed, and the blood-drained white of her face was gradually returning to color as well. "You really are something special, huh?" Skipper grunted, struggling to pull his arm out of Marie's grip. Even without aether, her strength was monstrous. He could hear the metal creaking as her fingers left deep indents in it. Marie grinned, her teeth stained with leftover blood. "Oh," she said, tugging at his arm. "You haven't seen anything yet." Skipper matched her grin with his own. "I could say the same thing, kiddo." I was surprised after he stopped her heart he didn't cut her head off to be safe. He thrust his free arm out. Fair. He thrust his free arm out to the side, away from both of them, and fired off his heartbeat shotgun. Marie's eyes widened, as did Skipper's grin, and a second later the two of them went flying over the edge of the abyss, plummeting into the darkness below. If Marie was thrown off by this sudden fall, she didn't show it. Within the first few seconds of their descent, she pulled Skipper's prosthetic arm free with a roar, leaving only a shard of jagged, sparking metal protruding from his stump. Then she lunged forward with her other hand, fingers poised to dig right through Skipper's stomach. It was a nice try, to be sure, but Skipper wasn't so easy to kill. Heartbeat landmine. In the second before Marie would have run Skipper through, she instead went flying backwards, crashing into the far wall of the chamber with such force that she was embedded there, halting her fall. Skipper thrust his shattered metal arm, glimmering with green aether, into the pillar beside him, stopping his own fall. Then, he looked up at his opponent. One thing, Skipper mentioned, this technique exists to kill, and obviously the silencer does, right? But because his sounds can affect the heart, I wonder if he could also, or if he will in the future, use that ability to, essentially be a defibrillator and get a heart started again after it stopped. Marie was already working her way out of the wall, scraps of debris crumbling away between her arms and legs. She growled, the cuts and bruises the impact had caused already disappearing from her body. She glanced up at the central console, now far above both of them, then back down at Skipper. "You think that's enough to get me?" she laughed. "It's nothing for me to finish you off and climb back up." Skipper wiped the sweat from his brow with his free arm, then pointed his index finger towards Marie. Wait, how did he survive the fall? I get cheated because she's Marie, but what did he do? Oh, he thrust his arm in, I see. Sorry, I missed it when I was reading.
He didn't fall all the way to the bottom.
Yeah, he, scraped it down.
Yeah.
Skipper wiped the sweat from his brow with his free arm, then pointed his index finger towards Marie. "Last chance, kid. Stay put or I'll give you something that'll actually hurt. Yeah?" Marie's eyes narrowed. "I've never surrendered once in my life. Don't expect me to start now, okay? Heartbeat shotgun." He said it only once, but fired them off many times. Each blast... I assume them, not them. Yeah. Each blast of sound embedding Marie further and further into the wall, her chest caving in from the sheer repeated force. She gasped, not a result of shock, but just the fact that the air was being squeezed out of her lungs. She'd heal from that. What she'd already shown him had demonstrated that clearly. He'd have to go a little further. Stopping her heart hadn't even slowed her down. Skipper wondered how she'd fare without a brain. "Heartbeat bayonet." Again, the words only ran through his mind once, but numerous whistling blades cut through Marie's neck, one after another, faster and faster, to counteract the healing that was already taking place as they sliced. She glared down at him with bloodshot eyes, the anger in them eerily tranquil. Finally, the last blade cut the last strand of flesh, and Marie's head seceded from the body. Did he already slash up her brain?
Well, no, he's cutting her head off, yeah.
Oh. It toppled from her shoulders and began falling down into the abyss, Skipper's finger tracking it as it went. Heartbeat shotgun. The head exploded into a shower of blood, brain, and skull that plummeted into the darkness below. After peering down for a few more seconds, just to make absolutely sure it was gone, Skipper breathed a sigh of relief. That wasn't going to do it. Nothing would. Still, he wasn't exactly out of the woods. His shoulder aching from the strain of supporting his entire body, Skipper turned his head to look at the platform far above. This was going to be a hell of a climb. So the series is going to go one of two interesting ways. Either Marie's finally gone and we just got a true glimpse into Skipper's power level, but he's tired himself out for a future fight, or Marie's going to come back and she's basically invincible and is going to be a continuous monstrous threat in this series. I feel like, and if the latter's the case, I feel like their only hope, no SCP pun involved, is to contain her in some way. Like a seal. Like a magical seal.
I thought you meant like the animal, like a seal. I was like, what, in the zoo?
No. Aether's not magic, but could someone make, a prison out of Aether and, seal something?
Yeah, definitely.
Alter a person's body. You know that thing where you can store body? Store a body into the earth or something in, a special stone or whatever?
Hmm. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. So I'm really interested to see if she'll come back or not. But I feel like at the very least, if she comes back, it's going to take her a little bit to regen. Since we got sort of a time frame of a couple seconds for her to recover from the other hits, and this is her whole body was eviscerated. I think even Deadpool takes a little bit of time to pull together from that.
Yeah, but
so,
I really enjoyed writing this one.
Yeah, I have a couple of theories. I don't think robot is the case anymore. I think my new leading theory is nanomachine, son. I think
Why won't you die?
Nanomachines that are putting her body back together. Explain some of the roboticness to her and her unnatural strength, etc. That's my guess.
Well, maybe we'll find out. Well, we are going to find out, but eventually.
My question is, do you think Marie will come back, audience? Yes or no?
And with that, an excellent question. I believe that's the end of 3.29.
Yep.
Thank you so much for reading. Bye.